Welcome to the Paycheck Project. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button.
The F.I.R.E. movement. It's this incredible vision of escaping the 9-to-5, gaining total freedom, and taking back control of your life. And wow, is it a tempting idea. But like anything that sounds that good, we've got to take a closer look. So today, we're going to stress test the F.I.R.E. blueprint, look past the hype, and really dig into the hidden risks and costs.
Look, we all want financial independence. That's the dream. But what's the actual price of that freedom? Is it really just about hitting a number in your investment account? Or are there other costs, financial, practical, and maybe even psychological, that get buried in all the success stories? Let's find out.
All right, let's start with the foundation of it all, the math. The entire F.I.R.E. philosophy is built on this set of rules and calculations that are supposed to make your money last forever. But what happens when we put those numbers under a microscope? So, the big question is the math that powers this whole dream really built on solid ground, or are there some serious cracks in the foundation? Let's check it out by looking at probably the most famous rule in the entire F.I.R.E. playbook. You've probably heard of it, the famous 4% rule. It's the bedrock of so many retirement plans. But here's the catch. That rule was designed and tested for a traditional 30-year retirement. If you retire at 40, you're not planning for 30 years. You're planning for 50, maybe even 60 years. And over that much longer time horizon, that safe 4% rule, well, it suddenly becomes a whole lot riskier and its chance of success drops a lot.
This longer timeline throws early retirees right into the path of a huge financial danger, sequence of returns risk. It's a fancy name for a pretty terrifying idea. When your investment returns happen matters just as much as what your average return is. See, a big market crash in your first few years of retirement can be an absolute knockout blow. Let me show you what I mean. Okay, here's portfolio A. This is the dream scenario. You retire with your $1 million and the market is on a tear for the first few years. Now, even though you're taking money out to live, your portfolio is actually still growing. You're building an even bigger cushion. Your plan is working perfectly. Life is good. But now look at portfolio B. It starts with the exact same $1 million. It even gets the exact same average return over the long run. The only difference is the timing. The bad years happened right at the start. Because you're forced to sell your assets when prices are low just to pay your bills, the portfolio gets crippled. It just never recovers. That right there is sequence of returns risk. And for someone looking at a 50-year retirement, it is a potential plan killer. So the math has some pretty big question marks. But let's move away from the spreadsheets and financial models for a minute and talk about the real-world, tangible hurdles that can stop someone from even getting to the F.I.R.E. starting line. This is the magic number you see everywhere in the F.I.R.E. community. To retire in, say, 10 to 15 years, you've got to save over half of your income. Just let that sink in. Over half. It's a staggering number, and it forces us to ask a really important question. Is hitting that 50% savings rate really just about being super frugal and disciplined? Is it something anyone can do if they just try hard enough? Or is being able to do it for many people a function of privilege? And this is where we see a huge accessibility gap. Let's be honest, the loudest success stories tend to come from people in really high-paying jobs, like tech or finance. For a household earning a median income, once you factor in the big stuff, housing, childcare, student loans, saving 50% isn't just hard, it can be mathematically impossible. The narrative often just glosses over unspoken advantages, like having family help or graduating without debt, things that give some people a massive head start. Now for what might be the single biggest hurdle of them all, especially here in the United States, healthcare. If you retire at 40, you're looking at a 25-year gap before you're eligible for Medicare, a quarter century where you have to cover every single penny of your health insurance yourself. This isn't just some small expense. We're talking about a potential multi-$100,000 problem that can single-handedly blow up an otherwise perfect F.I.R.E. plan. But let's say you do it. You crack the math, you overcome all the real-world hurdles, and you hit your number. You're done. You're retired. That's when you face what might be the most underestimated risks of all, the psychological ones. The journey might be about hitting a number, but the real test is what happens to you after you get there. You know, for so many of us, our job is a massive part of our identity. It's how we introduce ourselves at parties, it's what gives our day structure.
And when you just remove that, especially decades before any of your friends do, it can trigger a really profound identity crisis. It leaves this huge void right where your career used to be. It's a strange paradox. The whole goal is to escape the daily grind, right? But without the built-in structure, the goals, the challenges of a career, a lot of early retirees report this surprising feeling of aimlessness. The total freedom you sacrificed so much to get can suddenly feel kind of empty. And think about your social life. For most working adults, the office is our main social hub. When you retire at 35, you're leaving that built-in community behind. Suddenly, all your friends are busy with meetings and deadlines, and your calendar is just wide open. That disconnect can be incredibly lonely. And here's the great irony of it all. After spending years, maybe decades, being incredibly frugal, saving every last penny, some people find they just can't flip the switch. They've reached their goal, but that scarcity mindset is so wired into their brain that they feel this intense anxiety and guilt just spending money on anything. They've won the game, but they're still trapped in this psychological cage they built for themselves. It all really boils down to this simple truth: money only solves money problems. You can get the financial equation perfect, but that money can't build you a purpose, it can't create a community for you, and it certainly can't manufacture happiness. You have to figure that stuff out on your own. Okay, so we've laid out some pretty serious challenges. But the point here isn't to just dismiss the entire F.I.R. movement. Not at all. It's about reframing what success actually looks like by planning for these risks from the very beginning. The key isn't to just cross your fingers and hope for the best, but to have a smart plan for the risks. For every major challenge, there's a potential strategy. To fight that scary market risk, you could use a more conservative withdrawal rate, like 3.5%. To solve the healthcare puzzle, a lot of people try barista F.I.R., working a part-time job just for the benefits. And for the psychological side, the answer is to be proactive. Have a clear plan for what you're retiring to, not just what you're running from. Ultimately, the biggest mistake anyone can make in pursuing F.I.R.E. is creating a perfect financial plan, but forgetting to actually design a life worth living with that money. So the most important question isn't how much do I need? It's what for? Answering that, that's the real key to finding a freedom that isn't just financial, but is truly fulfilling.